Well, good morning. Today is Wednesday, February the 8th. What's on your mind? Nothing? Boring lives of quiet desperation? Is that the
Ice was falling yesterday. I was shocked.
Say again?
Ice, like little ice was falling yesterday. I was shocked.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be up close to 80 degrees today.
I don't know.
It's probably hail.
It was like,
It was hail.
yeah.
Oh,
it was
okay.
definitely hail.
Some hail.
Rare occurrence.
Okay. I saw a hand.
Yeah, right. You know who Martellus Bennett is?
Marcellus.
Martellus Bennett.
Martellus
He just won the
Bennett.
Super Bowl with the Patriots.
Okay.
So there's this like big thing going on that he's being shamed because he doesn't want to go to the Super Bowl celebration in the White House because he doesn't like Trump.
Uh-huh.
But Tom Brady did the same thing. I believe it was 3 years ago when they won.
2 years ago.
Sorry about that. Thanks for the correction. 2 years ago when they won, when Obama was in the White House, and he didn't want to go because he didn't agree with, his, I guess you can say ideas.
Uh-huh.
So, what would you say about? By the way, he's a black tight end. By the way, a black player.
Right.
And he doesn't agree with Trump's, ideas, so he doesn't want to go to the White House celebration.
Right.
So I was just, what do you feel about that? And are you on the shaming side, or are you saying it's not a big deal because Tom Brady did the same thing, and he's the guy that actually went out there and won the Super Bowls.
I have a little bit of a bias about, well, they did it before, so it's okay for us to do it now. I don't buy that as a general principle. I think whatever you think you want to do with respect to your conscience, weigh both sides of it. As a nationally recognized sports athlete, personally, I believe you have a responsibility to people in the role model or the role that you play, the way you behave. That doesn't give you an answer. If you believe in your conscience strongly that this president is antithetical to everything you believe, and out of your own personal conscience you don't want to go, I say welcome to America. Fine. Okay? If it's for some other superficial reason, I have some issues with it. And I would say the same thing about Tom Brady. If in your conscience you absolutely disagree and find that Mr. Obama is absolutely antithetical to everything you believe in and you don't want to attend, that's your right. And in many people's eyes, that's your responsibility to stand up for the things you believe in. That's what this country's about.
Totally agree.
Okay. Yeah. And I will admit to you up front, I am not a fan of Mr. Trump. I have very deep concerns about some of the things he's doing and the way in which he's going about it. But that said, I'm trying to evaluate the man as objectively and fairly as I can, and just see where this was going to lead us. I'll be honest with you, on Facebook, every time I see him doing something I disagree with, I post it. But if I see him making arguments I agree with, I'll post that. That's the beauty of social media. We get to communicate more now than we ever could before. And we get to, in that communication, attempt to persuade each other about, I think this is correct. Rather than simply living in your little home, looking at your little TV, and never talking to anybody, there's more communication. I think that's a better thing for the country. But it means there's a lot of disagreement out there, too.
Now, I know how you think how he's trying to, his policies with Mexico and Japan trying to reduce the trade deficits, how do you think that's going to affect the economy long-term wise or short-term?
Short-term, it's going to be a disaster. Okay? Short-term, we're alienating our trading partners. I don't see any long-run benefits that outweigh that at this time. I think he's doing a lot of harm to our international ability to influence things that go on. But I don't know where it's going to lead. I guess the rule of thumb for me right now is I don't care where you are, what you're doing, protect yourself. If you are in a job in a company that sells a lot of stuff to Mexico, start looking around, okay? If you're in a job that sells a lot of stuff that we import from Mexico, start looking around, because those prices are going to, if he has his way, those prices are going to go up, and your company's not going to have as much sales. Protect yourself. There's not a lot we can do to reverse that right now, the way our politics are set up. So on a personal level, prepare yourself. Stay aware of what's happening and prepare for whatever future you see potentially developing.
Yeah, because I know that's gonna end up affecting a lot of them. Because I know right now our trade between America and Japan has increased drastically, and same with Mexico. So I was wondering if that's going to affect their growth. Because right now, if I'm correct, they've been growing exponentially in the past
Japan?
few years. Yes, sir.
They've been pretty anemic, really. I mean, they're starting some minor recovery, but they got a long way to go. See, there's something to be said for the idea that,
Sorry.
no problem, you're welcome anytime. That we have established trading arrangements with people or countries around the world that were to our disadvantage, that didn't need to be, okay? There's a term, you know what monopoly means? What is monopoly?
Monopoly, when a company sort of takes control of a certain
What does mono mean?
one.
One seller. One seller. How about this word? Monopsony. One buyer. Okay? If you're making M1A1 Sherman tanks, how many people are buying those tanks? The U.S. government. Okay? One buyer. The United States has been a huge consuming country, and we've been very valuable to all these other countries who are producing goods and services because we buy a lot of them. But if we're that big a buyer, cannot we demand a better trade arrangement? You want to sell your products in my country? You got to do this. You got to do that. Maybe we could have negotiated better trade agreements that way. I don't know. I'm waiting to see what Mr. Trump does. Let me give you another example of monopsony. If you buy certain drugs in the United States, I don't know a name of one off the top.
Right off the top, Ritalin.
Maybe so, but you may pay $600 for a month's prescription on that drug. But if you go, say, to Denmark or Germany, and you buy that same drug, it will cost you $41. Why?
They're trying to regulate and monopolize the sale of the drug and trying to make more money out of it.
Because in Denmark, the government provides health care. And so when it's time to buy this drug for your citizens, the government goes to the drug maker and says, we want to buy a bunch of it, give me a good price or I'll go somewhere else. I'll buy something different. And they get much lower. That's monopsony power. The power of being a great big buyer, that you can make people sell stuff to you cheaper. Walmart does this. You got a new product, you want to sell it in Walmart? What are they going to tell you? Well, you got to sell it to us at a really cheap price so we can sell it and make some money on it. And if your price isn't cheap enough, our shelf space in Walmart is so valuable that we won't do business with you. And so if you want to be sold, you want your product sold in Walmart, you got to give them a really, really good price. They have monopsony power. So I suggest the United States has a good degree of monopsony power that maybe we could have used better in the past. I'm curious to see what kind of trade arrangements he negotiates. So I'm not absolutely down on Trump for everything, just most things.
I was like really bored and got on YouTube yesterday, and
You could have been doing, elasticities.
yeah, I know. And I found this like pretty conservative right side speaker, and he was talking about that the Japanese want to introduce like a bill to Trump that they want to come into the US and create 700,000 jobs. Now, I don't know how much of this is true, because it's like really like alt-right speaker, conservative speaker, but I mean, certainly I could believe that some of it is true, because like the Japanese like economy is, I think it's in a pretty big trouble right now.
It has been in big trouble. It fell
They're,
apart
like,
and couldn't recover.
overaged, right? They're like,
But-
they have like the second highest average, what's that, like lifetime? I think they're like 82 years old is like the average.
They have a very elderly population.
Yeah.
They have labor laws that say when you go to work for the company, they got to pay you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So maybe for Japanese companies, by coming to the United States, they can achieve a lower labor
Yeah,
cost.
that's what I was thinking that they
There's two problems there to me. What are you going to produce? Because even if our labor costs are less than Japan,
Some kind of IT, that's what.
okay, but if our labor costs are less than Japan, they're still higher than an awful lot of other countries. Why are you coming here?
Yeah,
Are they getting some trade advantage or something like that? And then the other thing is, if they do that, what happens to the Japanese economy?
Well, their biggest buyers right now isn't that America right now? If I'm
I don't know. I don't know who their major trading partners are.
yeah,
It is.
I don't know,
But
it's pretty interesting.
I think your comment earlier was better. This is a statement being made by someone from the far right.
Yeah,
He has an agenda.
yeah.
He is not necessarily limited by the truth. You familiar with the term alternative facts? Right? Also known as we'll make up stuff as we go along. One of my big disagreements with some of the Trump people.
It's just a really big number, you know, I mean, 700,000 jobs is like,
Yeah, it's incredible.
it's a huge number.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So what else on your mind? Yes, ma'am?
Trump wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act.
Mhm.
What effect do you think that's going to have on the economy and healthcare and like individual citizens?
We don't know what.
Give or take 20 million people have insurance today that did not have it before the Affordable Care Act. It is not clear, A, if he repeals it, if he will replace it with something to cover those people. The Republicans are beginning to recognize that you better have something or you're going to be very unpopular. Let me finish. Okay? So the first problem is, are you going to cover those people? If you do not cover those people for health care costs, you've got a political disaster and you've got a social disaster. You've got people who are living on the edge, who are going to lose their health insurance. And we've already had a problem in this country with people going bankrupt and losing everything they own due to healthcare costs. So economically, to remove the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and not have anything to replace it, economically is going to do great damage to this economy. Having said that, I want to throw in a little personal observation. If these are all the people that buy healthcare, and these are all the doctors and hospitals, how does Medicare work? Medicare is for people who are over 65. And basically, you go to Medicare, and they pay the doctor. Okay? You let them know. You go to the doctor bills Medicare, Medicare pays them, boom. And, by the way, the costs for Medicare per patient are very small. And they are very efficient. They're not perfect. They have a few problems, but they're very efficient. Most of the people over 65 think Medicare is the best thing since they put beer in a can. But what happens for the private people who are buying insurance through Obamacare or anywhere else? They have to buy it through these insurance companies, paying enough or a high enough premium so that these insurance companies are making a profit. What does that do to the cost of health care?
It increases it.
It keeps it high. So you and I have to go through here, and then they'll decide if they're going to pay there. And if they don't pay there, what happens? They come back and bill us. That's why I think a growing movement, it's going to occur after Trump, because the Republican establishment, at least on the far right, are against it, is what they call a single-payer system. Now, you're going to have people on the far right tell you that that's government insurance. No, it's not. It's the government paying, the only person paying So if the government pays, if we had Medicare for everybody, that's one of the big arguments, Medicare for all. Okay, if you had that, when it came time to buy some of those prescriptions, we might go to a company like Roche Pharmaceutical. They make medicines, right? And instead of each hospital or each patient going to buy it, the government goes to Roche and says, we need 32 billion prescriptions for atorvastatin, okay? Give me your best price or I'll buy a different drug somewhere else. What'll happen to drug prices? Same thing that's happened in Denmark, in Germany. Why don't we go to a single payer system and eliminate the cost of all those insurance companies and their profits? Why don't we? You've already read an article about that. No, you haven't, not in Micro. I'm sorry. It's called crony capitalism.
Oh, yeah.
It's because the insurance companies are paying the politicians, donating to their campaigns to help protect their position. How long is that going to continue? You take away the Affordable Care Act and put 20 million people without insurance, you will have 20 million people ready to vote for this. So we'll see. So if they eliminate Obamacare and they don't do anything to replace it, we're going to see an economic disaster. We're going to see a lot of hardship on very poor people. We'll see what political repercussions come out of that. Brenda?
And you'll see a lot of facilities and hospitals go out of business because they're gonna have to go back and basically write off what they're not paying.
That's right.
So basically places, doctors will go out of business.
Yep, I think that's true too.
I don't really want to argue with you, but I mean,
Please do.
Denmark is just one good example.
Uh-huh.
And Denmark is actually one of the richest and wealthiest nations from the EU with Norway. And they had the best economy and the best of everything. They're the most modern thinking, they love bicycles, all that, sustainable.
All that hippy dippy crap, yeah.
So Denmark is a really good example, but we have to look at the bigger picture because all across Europe, we have the Medicare kind of health system.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the Eastern European region, for example, my country, it's corrupt as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with the Medicare kind of thinking healthcare is that the government realizes that they have to pay too much money to to keep up this whole system, and they start to degrade the whole thing down, and that's when the whole healthcare goes down, the level of the healthcare. And for example, since we started doing this 7 years now, we dropped 13 places, 14 places in the EU.
Why is,
So, I don't know. And
Why is
all
this kind of
other
care-
countries have the same issue as well, because the government has a certain amount of budget spending on the healthcare, and they decide, oh, we don't want to spend this much on the healthcare, we want to just put it to something else.
Mhm.
And this is my problem exactly with the Medicare stuff. If it would be a nationwide Medicare for everybody, I think that's what happened, because people are greedy and they would make corruption,
I think you would have the opportunity for corruption, but no more so than you see today. You don't call that corruption, paying your politicians.
True.
I think you win or lose either way, but I think you get more people with basic coverage with that single payer system. And it is reasonably successful. Why is it reasonably successful in England, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, but not successful in other countries?
Well, those countries have strong economies for sure.
Good, I agree. And so if you're going to go this way, you need to probably have a strong economy before you go to this.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it'll never succeed.
Exactly.
Good point.
Regarding the whole Japan bringing jobs over to the U.S., that actually is apparently a thing. Mayoshi Son, the CEO of SoftBank, which is basically it's sort of like AT&T or Verizon over here, except larger scale. It's sort of it's more like a monopoly over there for them, but they're a big tech company and they're apparently investing $50 billion into bringing jobs and approximately 50,000 jobs.
To the United States.
Yes, sir.
I believe it when I see it.
Yep,
Okay.
I was
exactly.
the same too. It's a really good number, but I believe it when I see it. It's just absurd. How many unemployed we have right now in the U.S.?
I don't know the number, 4.8% unemployment rate.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's kind 3 million.
Are you,
like
anybody here
12 million
from,
people.
how many?
I mean, it's just, I was just counting with like 300 million people.
No,
so it's-
because that's 4.8% of the workforce.
Oh, workforce.
Yeah. So, 2 million?
2 million, yeah. So I mean, 700,000,
Yeah.
that's, I mean,
You smoking the weed, man. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the natural rate of unemployment and the inflation and all that stuff. I mean, that connects to it. I mean, it's just,
Are you, anybody here familiar with an app called WeChat?
Yeah,
WeChat, just one?
I've had it since I was 14.
Okay, do you use it?
Yes, sir.
How do you use it?
No, I use it to communicate, or I used to use it to communicate with my brother when he'd go back and forth from China, and I use it to communicate with friends that I met over in China, Japan, you name it.
We have a visiting professor here at Santa Fe this week from China, Dr. Zhang. Chatting with him yesterday, he uses WeChat. Everybody in China uses WeChat. That's how you communicate, but it's also how you make your payments. I can give you money if you have WeChat and I have WeChat. I can give you money by phone. I can pay all my bills by phone. He said, nobody carries cash over there anymore. I'm just thinking, that's kind of cool. I knew we were going to get there, but apparently China's already there.
Venmo. Venmo.
Yeah, we have them.
Where can I?
Spell that.
VEMMO.
Venmo. Okay.
Everybody uses it.
everybody uses that.
Yeah.
How many of you use Venmo
I think it's.
or SquareCash?
I think WeChat and Venmo are like sort of similar, where some population uses. Because I know, a few of my friends that still are over in China, or at least as far as I know, they do use WeChat to transfer money, but it's usually between like and for major purchases they still use cards.
All right, what else on your mind? Anybody, anything? Cindy?
Was there a video for Monday?
No, I got totally sidetracked yesterday and didn't get it posted.
Okay.
So Mondays and today's videos will both go up either late today or tomorrow. Yes, ma'am?
Did you hear fall of this year, San Francisco is now offering free community college to all residents to have lived there for over a year, and the funding is coming from a tax that is being placed on properties that have a value of over $5 million.
Did you hear that?
No?
City of San Francisco is offering free community college to anyone who has lived there for over a year. And they're getting the money by placing an additional tax on properties who have a value over $5 million.
Properties or?
Huh?
It's a commercial
Like if you go and buy a mansion and $7 million, you have that extra tax on it.
Really taken from the rich and redistribute it to the community colleges. Good idea, bad idea?
I'm worried that might devalue the education there.
Could be. What do you mean?
Because the college students or people like waste more of their salary, like for example 90% of the salary, so that makes the economy flow.
It could boost.
Maybe. It
sales
also
of
means for the
supplies.
community college
Their
student,
dropout rates like.
he has more money to spend at the restaurants. Could be good for the economy. What do you think of free college? If we found a way to pay for it, would free college be a good idea?
No.
No point.
I don't think as many people would go if it was free, honestly. There would be, like I was taking a psychology class, it'd be like reverse psychology. If it was free, less people would go.
Because if it's free, it's not worth as much, or it's not worth,
Well,
Not as
yeah,
beneficial?
Exactly. It's kind of like, do you know the saying, like, don't take free knowledge? Like, don't trust that. A lot of people don't believe in a lot of stuff like that,
okay.
but there's kind of an incentive to it.
Interesting argument. If it were free, fewer people would attend.
As crazy as that.
People that care would attend.
I think the opposite.
Yeah, of course.
You think more people would attend?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think more people.
You know, Bernie Sanders was promising that, and they're trying to do it in the state of Tennessee also. I got mixed emotions. I don't mind the idea that we should help people get a better education, makes them more productive. Well, I'm damned if I'm going to pay for somebody's college tuition when they go to school and don't make progress.
I mean, if someone's not making progress and you're helping them pay for it, it's
Yeah.
like, you want to see results.
I feel like it would just drop the determination level. Like,
Do you?
Because it's there. You can do it whenever you want to. It's free. You don't have a pressure on you. I feel like that the financial pressure actually like motivates people that I have to finish it. I cannot get more student loans or something like that.
I wouldn't mind seeing them try it if they said, I'll give you one term for free. And if you make a 2.5 or better, I'll give you another term, term by term.
It's basically
I
like
feel like
financial aid.
Say again?
Or set
Basically
it
that
up,
financial aid.
Yeah, kind of like.
or set it up like a scholarship, and basically, I mean, people like don't have to apply for it and receive it, and as you say, if they keep doing good and progress, just
It's,
continue, give it
you know,
to them.
it's the way most schools operate. If you don't keep your GPA above a 2.0, what happens?
Yep.
You
Financial
get put on probation, you get put on suspension, and eventually you get expelled. Do the same thing with the money. I don't know. Question.
That's how it works in China.
In China? Yeah.
If you don't have a good GPA, they stop paying for your education.
Okay.
You go to camp and work.
Won't they start deciding like how specialized the kids should be when they're in like middle school?
Yeah, well, they decide whether they're college worthy.
Yeah, that's why a lot of them get sent over here as exchange students because, well, if they're sent over here at one point or another, they weren't that great of a student over.
That, and a lot of them spend a lot of money coming over here. I wish the hell I could get focused here.
No, the foreign exchange kids at my high school, they like their dads own giant companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Yes, ma'am.
I forgot to mention that it's regardless of what your income is, and it's regardless of your economical status. If you are on the lower end of the spectrum for incomes, it is $250 towards books and supplies.
Okay.
And I know that the UK does free schooling for, I think it's ages like 6 to 18, and I know they have a different schooling system over there, but that's basically like up until high school here, and it's worked for years for them. But college is a different story. I understand that.
Sir?
But like my mom's side lives in Canada, so I know their college there is for free, but they have certain requirements in high school where you have to take like different courses.
To be college ready.
Yeah, to be
Sure.
college ready, because some of them had to take English classes in high school for them to be required to be university.
Absolutely.
I mean, what if they had to get recommendation letters, sort of like for graduate school, except it was your high school teachers giving you that recommendation letter to get pre-college?
Good. I don't trust letters of recommendation, personally.
I know apparently it's a big thing over in China that they sell letters of recommendation, so a lot of the time they don't accept them over here.
I mean, if you had a really bad employee who wanted to apply for another job, would you write him a letter of recommendation? Oh, hell yeah. Help him get that job. Get him the hell out of the company. So when I see somebody in a letter of recommendation and how great he is, I'm kind of, I wonder why. You know? I'm not so sure I trust that.
That's what you have the references.
All right, let's do some elasticities. Get some of that out of it. Warm up, right? Someday I'll find markers at work.
One day.
One day. Price one, $60. Quantity one, 1,700 units. Price two, $64. Quantity two, will the quantity be bigger or smaller? Why smaller? Because the price is higher, absolutely, okay. So this will be 1,640. Calculate the price elasticity of demand between those two prices. Anybody else confirm that?
That's correct.
We usually express the elasticity to 2 decimal points. I calculate it at 4 and then round it back.
Question, if you're trying to find price elasticity of demand, right? If you're trying to find,
Okay, no problem. Any questions about the .56 mathematically? Next question, positive number or negative number?
Negative.
The price elasticity of demand, that's what that symbol is. The price elasticity of demand is always negative, and you told me why. Because when the price goes up, the quantity goes down. You get a positive and a negative change. Positive over negative or negative over positive, the answer is always negative. Okay? So even if I don't write it, you know it's a negative number. Okay? Next question. Is this an elastic or inelastic demand? Inelastic, it's less than 1 in absolute value. When you ignore the negative sign, it's less than 1. Everybody okay with that? Fourth question. When I raise the price and the demand is inelastic, what happens to the total revenue? If it's an inelastic demand and the price goes up, what happens to total revenue? It goes up also. When it's inelastic, price and total revenue move the same direction. You doing okay so far? Fifth question. Is this on the upper half or the lower half of a straight line demand curve? Lower half. The bottom half is the inelastic range. If this was the price sixth question. If this was the price elasticity of demand for your product at these prices, what do you know about your prices? They're too low. You don't want to operate with prices in the inelastic range. You want to keep raising price till you get up in the elastic range, okay? You are underpricing your product. You okay so far? Kind of a warm-up or review? Okay. Factors affecting the price elasticity of demand. What kind of things make the demand for a product elastic versus inelastic? Number 1. Elastic, we'll make a kind of a table. Elastic, inelastic. What makes the demand elastic? When you have lots of substitutes instead of few substitutes. How many substitutes are there for Miller Lite beer?
Numerous.
And sometimes for some people it doesn't have to be light beer. Beer's beer. 200? 300? Okay? So what's the demand for Miller Lite going to be like? Is it going to be really elastic or inelastic? Very elastic, because if the price goes up, I'll just buy another brand. Okay so far? Good. How many substitutes are there for beer?
We're talking maybe.
Huh? No, how many substitutes are there for beer?
There's none.
Beer, the category. If you couldn't buy beer, what other good things?
Liquor.
Hard liquor?
But that's about it.
Wine?
Champagne.
Sake.
Champagne.
Champagne? High maintenance over here.
Moonshine.
Very few. Say again?
Moonshine.
Moonshine. Very few substitutes. So listen to the question. Which has the most inelastic demand? Miller Lite or beer? Inelastic demand, beer. There are very few substitutes for beer. When people say that on a test, though, they go crazy. Because their first thought is beer? Oh, there's lots of beers. Yeah, but how many substitutes are there for beer? Oh, damn. Not many. So beer has more inelastic demand. Miller Lite, and this is true for any kind of brand name. How many substitutes are there for toothpaste?
Not a lot. More to count.
Name me 3.
Colgate.
No, for toothpaste.
Baking soda.
Baking soda,
That's it. This year.
mouthwash if you're in a jam, salt.
Salt?
Salt. Salt is slightly abrasive and dissolves. We used to use salt anytime you didn't have it. Have any of you ever used tooth powder? Yeah. I don't know if you can buy that anymore, but we used to have. Yeah. Don't you laugh at me because I'll kick your ass. I'll get some help and kick your ass. Okay? So the demand for Colgate toothpaste, elastic or inelastic? Elastic. Lots of different brands. The demand for toothpaste, very inelastic. Okay, making my point? Second. Is it a necessity? You gotta have it, or is it a luxury? You can take it or leave it. Which one's got an elastic demand? Luxuries. Luxury products tend to have a fairly elastic demand. Necessities, the demand is fairly inelastic.
Why does that?
Gotta have it. The price goes up, you keep buying it. Over here, and remember, we're talking about price increases by percentages. Most necessities are fairly inexpensive anyway. If Colgate toothpaste goes up by 10%, what's that, $1.29, it goes up to $1.31? Who cares? What about a luxury? 30-foot yacht. Price, $100,000. It goes up by 10%. How much is that?
That's $100.
That's 10,000 freaking dollars. Maybe I won't buy that. You with me okay? If I need it, my demand's inelastic. If I don't really need it, I'm more elastic in my demand. Okay? 3. I was fishing up in North Georgia one year. I used to drive up there and park my truck and put on my backpack, and I'd just backpack out along the creeks for 3 or 4 or 5 days. And I had a great time. But I'd always, make my way back to the truck. I'd spend a day or two there at the truck, usually on a creek. I'd drink a few beers. I ran out of beer in North Georgia. Do you know what a dry county means? A dry county? They don't sell alcohol. And I was fairly innocent and ignorant at that time. And I drove down to the nearest convenience store. I said, "Where's your beer?" And he said, "Son, we don't sell beer in this county." What the hell? I said, "Well, where do they sell beer?" He says, "Probably the next county over." I said, "How'd I get there?" He says, "Get out on the road and turn right." Boom, I'm gone. I crossed the county sign and I said, "Here's a convenience store." I pulled in. I said, "Where's your beer?" He says, "Son, we don't sell beer here." I'm thinking, I must be in communist Russia. This can't be right. He said, "This is a dry county. We don't sell beer." He says, "You got to go through the next county, and then to the county after that is a wet county. You can buy beer there." What do you think I did? Get in the damn car, come on. I get to the last county, I walk in a convenience store, and by God, there's beer.
Expensive.
And I'm thinking, hallelujah, I am saved. How much do you think I paid? This is 20 years ago. How much do you think I paid for a case of beer?
Probably $5-10.
$22.
That's
$22 for a case that normally I would have bought for about $8. Was my demand elastic or inelastic?
Inelastic.
Inelastic. Because I wasn't going to go in a hurry. I wasn't going to continue a search. I found the beer. I could have driven around to a few more stores and maybe saved a few bucks, right? But I bought it right then. Why? I was in a hurry. I was needing a beer. So what we find out, your demand is elastic when you have lots of time to search. Plenty of time to look around. But when you need it now, you have just a little bit of time, our demand gets much more inelastic. On 39th Avenue, there used to be a Food Line grocery store back off the road, and right on the front of the road was a convenience store. And if you pulled in the convenience store, a 6-pack of beer was like, I don't know, $5. But you could go in the grocery store and buy it for about $3. People bought it in the convenience store all the time. Why?
It was more convenient.
It was quicker. You just pull in there, there's never more than 2 people in line, you get it, you get your car, you go on. You could have saved $2 by going back in the grocery store. Not worth it. I'm in a hurry. Don't want to spend the time. Last one. If what you're going to buy takes up a lot of your budget or your income, a large percentage, let's say, a large percentage of your money, your demand tends to be pretty elastic. When you buy an automobile, that takes up a lot of your budget, doesn't it? If that automobile goes up 10% in price, you'll look at it and say, whoa, damn. Right? Let's see if we have any real pagans in here. How many of y'all know how to fix a martini? How do you fix a martini? Huh? I can't hear you.
Vodka or gin, vermouth.
Vodka or gin, some vermouth, and you can shake them or stir them together, depending on if you're James Bond or not. And then you put it into a glass. Do you put it over ice cubes or not?
No.
Typically not, unless it's asked for. Okay. And then what goes in a martini after that? An olive. And does the olive go on a toothpick?
Yes.
Absolutely, or you are a heathen. You understand me? It must have a toothpick in it. How much do toothpicks cost? How much is a box of toothpicks? Little wooden toothpicks. How much is a box of toothpicks in Publix?
Maybe 150,
150?
149.
One,
Like 99.
99 cents?
Nah, Publix is expensive.
149.
A little box of wooden toothpicks.
I said about $1. About $1.
Would you believe 69 cents?
No.
Well, it depends on the
Nice.
size.
Depends.
It's just a standard toothpick.
If we're talking
Here's my point. You don't know if it's 69 cents or $1.69, and percentage-wise, that's a hell of a change, isn't it? Would it make any difference to you if you wanted toothpicks for your martinis? What the price was?
No.
Unless you're a heathen and don't use toothpicks. You say to yourself, I gotta have toothpicks. You walk in there and you pick up the toothpicks, you put them in the basket, and you go buy the damn toothpicks and go home and fix a martini, don't you? Did you ever look at the price of the box of toothpicks?
I do. I'm broke.
I have never looked at, do you know how many toothpicks are in that box? Take a guess.
150.
250. And if I'm paying $1 and I'm getting 250 of them, how much is each toothpick?
Less than.
Who cares? All I'm telling you is that box of toothpicks relative to my income, if it goes up 10% in price, I won't even notice it. So my demand for toothpicks is fairly inelastic, but my demand for automobiles is fairly elastic. Now these are important rules for two reasons. One is you got to know them to pass the course. But two is these are the second key in how to be profitable in business. The first key was consumer surplus and elasticity. Okay, that tells you how to get the best price. It says never price your product down in the inelastic range. This says look at the demand for your product in these terms. Okay? If it counts for a small part of my budget, I'm over here. Okay? So, you want to start a yard business. You look around and the average yard, they get $70 to do it. What price would you charge in your business? 65, 69?
No, I'd say around 60.
Around 60? Go ahead.
We discussed this.
What you do is you charge
That's how I'm trying to
60,
shut my mouth.
and then you say we have extra service available, and that's $70.
Good. I like that. I'd be inclined to get myself a nice new truck, freshly painted anyway, cleaned up. I'd put on a pair of khakis and a polo shirt. I'd look pretty sharp and make damn sure I shaved, cut my hair. Probably have to take the mustache off, I don't know. And I would look really sharp. My truck would look sharp. The equipment sitting in the back would look very clean and well kept. And I would knock on your door and I'd say, hey, I'm out here doing yard work. And I know in my mind the average price is about $70. I'd be willing to do your yard the first time for free. And after you've seen it, if you like it, I'll ask you to sign a contract to let me do it 10 more times for $85 a yard. What do you think? Would that work? It will only work in the neighborhoods where the people can afford that. I don't go to low-income neighborhoods with that kind of a product. I go to neighborhoods where $70, $80, $90, it's all the same, it's just a little. Where it's a small part of their income. Okay? I might try to time it so I go and knock on doors of yards where the grass is very high. Why? Because they need it now. You don't have a lot of time to look around. This stuff's about to take over your yard, you know? I see you got a little crabgrass coming on. If we get started on it today, we can keep that from destroying your yard. What was the operative term there?
Destroy.
Today. Okay? Is this a luxury or a necessity? Well, part of the things I'm going to tell you is, did you ever think about the impact of the value on the value of your house, of what your yard and your shrubberies look like? You know?
Yeah, it impacts
You don't want to start letting the value of your house start going down because you haven't got somebody maintaining your plants and, you know, edging the curb, making it look nice. It keeps the value up. Aesthetically, it's much more pleasant to live that way too. Okay? Say again?
If they're hard like me, then that might not get them. You have to go into facts about how bugs, it can decrease the amount of bugs you get in your
I can do that. I'm probably, as you kind of suggest, I'm going to give you a list. You know, we're going to do the basic yard for you. I want you to look it over when we're done. And in addition to that, these are the other things we can do. You know, we can treat it for bugs. We can treat it with fertilizer. We can, you know, whatever it takes. We'll make it perfect. Okay? How many other businesses are going to do this? If I've looked at my competitors and I know they're all out there looking like a bunch of drug addicts on a hangover, I've already got them outclassed, right? These rules are very real. These rules apply when you go looking for a job because you're selling yourself. Do you want the demand for you to be elastic or inelastic?
Inelastic.
Highly inelastic. Prove to me I can't hire anybody like you. How do you do that? Your academic record, your extracurricular activities, your GPA, whatever, the way you dress and appear, the way you present yourself. If you've got a half a dozen questions for me about my company that are very intelligent, there's not too many people like you, right? Do I need you? You have to prove that to me, okay? On and on and on down. And if I say, look, we're going to pay you between 40 and 50, or you know you're going to get 40 or 50, but this is a multi-million-dollar company. What's $10,000 difference if you're really good? It's nothing. It's just a small part. So you're interviewing with a very progressive and profitable company. You've proven all these things, and I say, how much do you think you need to start with? What do you say? I was thinking 50 to 55. You know, what do you think? And you say, well, we usually start you off about 40. I said, good, we can start at about 46, couldn't we? If you learn this stuff, it actually works. It's a hell of a thing for a college classroom. We're going to teach you something that actually works. Really. Okay. You'll see test questions around that. Be prepared for them. Let's do one other quick calculation. It's a different kind of elasticity. We're going to do something called income elasticity. My symbol for that is the small Greek letter eta. It looks kind of like an N. Okay? The calculation is very simple. It's going to be very familiar. What happens to sales? What is the percentage quantity and the amount that people buy when they have some percentage change in their income? Y stands for income. So we look at this. We say, gee, when incomes in the first instance were $25,000 a year per capita, sales of my product were $2,000 a month. When incomes went up to $30,000, my sales for this product, Q2, went to $2,200. People started making more money and I started selling more product, what's the income elasticity between these incomes for my product? Can you do the calculation? It's the same one we've done before, right? That number seems to keep coming up. Everybody see where I got these numbers?
I see where you got the first two. I'm not quite sure about the
This is the
denominators.
income. The change in income went from 25 to 30,000, 5,000 change. The average is the midpoint between these two.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good question. Anybody else? Are you all comfortable with where these numbers come from and how these calculations were made?
Wouldn't the quantity go down usually though if the incomes increase?
Only in a particular case. What would it mean if people started making more money and buying less of something?
Normal.
Inferior goods.
Oh, I was thinking of if the company was paying those people, then they wouldn't be able to produce as much as good because they couldn't employ as.
This is not what they're paying. This is what people in the market are earning. Good question. All right, how we doing? Is this a positive or a negative number?
Negative.
What happened to income?
Income.
Income rose. What happened to sales? Sales increased. This is a positive number. It could have been a negative number if income had gone up and sales had gone down. You'd have had a negative number here. That would be an inferior good. But if it's got a positive number, what kind of good is it?
Normal.
It's a normal good. So we say that when the income elasticity is positive, it's a normal good. If the income elasticity is negative, it's an inferior good. So you better watch out for the sign when you do income elasticity. It could be positive, it could be negative, don't screw that up. Okay?
So this one's positive.
This one's positive because income rose and sales rose. Both went up. How we doing? Yes, ma'am?
How did you get the bottom? That's the 20.
Right here?
Yeah.
This is the change in income divided by the average. Income went up by 5,000, that's the change. And the average is right between the two. I add them together, divide by 2. Sir?
Can you give an example of an inferior good?
Sure. If I had said this, we'll change the color. Same numbers, but sales went from 2,000 to 1,800. People made more money, but they bought less generic product. Spam, ramen noodles. Okay? Cool. Other questions?
This is only with income elasticity, right?
So far?
Yeah.
Just with income elasticities. Income elasticity, the sign is very important.
But the
Okay.
one like the one in
The price elasticity of demand before, always negative. One last one. We'll just knock these two out and then encourage you to start doing more quizzes. Say again? Huh?
You get the,
What?
you get
Damn right I'm here. This is called cross, or sometimes cross-price elasticity. All of these are on video, all of these are in the materials. My symbol here is the small Greek letter sigma. And it will be for two goods. Let's say B, comma, A. And mathematically, it's the percentage change in the quantity demanded of B when there is some percentage change in the price of A. These might be goods like peanut butter and jelly. They're related. The price of peanut butter affects the demand for jelly, at least for some people. So we say this: if the price of A in the first instance is $12, and the purchases of B at that time are 110 units, then we see when the price of A in the second instance goes to $16, the sales of B go to 130 units. There's your data. How do you calculate the cross price elasticity between A and B? The same old math. Make sure the quantity goes on top. Remember that. 4 places. Anybody else confirm that? Anybody else confirm that number? Okay. Do you see where I did the math? Right? Change in quantity from 110 to 130, average quantity. Change in price from 12 to 16 was 4, average price 14. 4 places decimal, 2 place decimal answer. Questions on the math? Anybody? Is this a positive or a negative number?
Positive.
How do you know it's positive? Because quantity increased and so did price. So we say this is a positive number. When we get a cross elasticity that's positive, are these two goods complements or substitutes? Is this probably peanut butter and jelly, or is this probably Fords and Chevrolets?
Substitutes probably. I mean compliments.
They ain't no probably, they are or they aren't.
Compliments.
Why?
I'm saying compliments.
What happened to good A? It got more expensive.
So these are.
Did we buy more A then?
These are
So it is
Chevys.
substitutes.
We didn't buy more A, it's too damn expensive. And since we didn't buy more A, what did we buy? More B. Complements or substitutes?
Substitutes.
Substitutes.
This is too expensive, I'll go buy that one. I substituted from this one to this one. You see that? When the cross price elasticity is positive, that means they are substitutes. Think about it. If peanut butter gets expensive, what happens to the sales of jelly? That goes down. This would be a negative number, those would be complements. But if the price of Coca-Cola goes up, What happens to the sales of Pepsi? Huh? If Coca-Cola gets expensive, what happens to sales of Pepsi?
Pepsi goes
People
up.
buy Pepsi, sales go up. Then you get positive. So positive indicates they are substitutes. You can look this back over on video. You can look it back over on assigned video.
So if quantity demanded went down to 90, you would just put a negative 20 for the change in.
Yeah. And they would be complements. Now, with what we have done, I think you're pretty well ready to do all the quizzes on Chapter 6, to include the ones on Canvas, and get cranking. So what I'm expecting from you on Monday is lots of questions about the quizzes and anything that wasn't clear. Now, there is a quiz on Connect. It's called Elasticities Review Quiz. It's the last one for Chapter 6. Elasticities Review Quiz. That's the one that is your best preparation for the exam. That's the one you can take as many times as you want. And you want to save and taking that until you really think you know this stuff, and then go take that and see how you do. Okay? 90% of this next test is elasticities, calculations and concepts. Yes, ma'am?
Are any of the appendices for...
I don't have appendices. I have a couple of quizzes on Canvas.
Okay, so it's just the ones that we normally...
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just
Well, there are quizzes on Canvas and on Connect. So there's still some on Canvas, but there's just, I think, 2 of them.
And what is it called? Do you know?
It's a module called Elasticities. Open it up and you'll see some quizzes in there. All right? Have a good weekend. I'll see you Monday.